All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another regular season NBA video. In this video, we're going to talk about the three games that happened on Wednesday night, do a little bit of an overview, talk about the NBA Cup because these three games were also NBA Cup games. So we're going to go over these games, talk about some performances. If you like what I say, like the video. If you have any opinions, comment down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. So let's get into these games. We have Pistons versus Boston. We have Oklahoma versus the Timberwolves, and we have the Rockets versus the Warriors. The first one we're going to talk about here is this crazy Pistons Boston game. The first game of the night started at 5, which is crazy, but I didn't dislike. Starting the games at 5 is better than starting games at like 8:30 and the second game at like 10 or 10:30 and the game's ending at 2 o'clock in the morning. Rather the games start early. But this game was super interesting to me for a lot of reasons that we'll get into. I did watch some highlights in preparation for this video just to refresh my brain a little bit about the games on Wednesday since this was a few days ago at this point. Um, some things that stuck out to me. Man, oh man. It looked like the Pistons were going to run away with this game early in this game. They looked like the slightly better team. They were playing some pretty good defense on the Boston Celtics, Jaylen Brown. Um, they were forcing him the bad shots. They're picking him up right at the half court line. They're doing all the right things, and it looked really good. And this was one of those games that started out, and I was looking at it, and I was watching it, and I was like, oh man, this is one of those games where Jaylen Brown, you're asked to be the number one guy, and you just don't look like the number one guy. And then as Jaylen Brown slowly started working himself into the game, and just kept putting up the shots and just trying to get the ball in the basket, it eventually started to go in, and Jaylen Brown went off. He ended the game with 33 points, 12 of 32. That's crazy. Yeah, a lot of those shots were missed in the first quarter and in the first half. 2 of 7 from three. Took 8 free throws, only missed one of them. 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 turnovers, 3 steals, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Um, really good stuff for Jaylen Brown, and sort of um, not proved everybody wrong, but like these are the growing pains that this team is going through this season. Sometimes Jaylen Brown isn't going to have it for a half, and you're just going to have to stick it out. And then other times he's gonna turn it on, and the ball is just gonna keep going in the basket, and he's gonna abuse these Pistons defenders because, quite frankly, once Jaylen Brown figured out how to get past them and sort of use his foot speed and use his length and strength, Duncan Robinson wasn't stopping Jaylen Brown for the Pistons. Um, who else is it? Karis LeVert wasn't stopping him. Jaden Ivey's still coming off an injury, so they didn't really put him on Jaylen Brown. I don't know why they didn't try Tobias Harris on him, a bit of a bigger body. They didn't even try a Sore Thompson either. Um, they really just let Jaylen Brown do his thing, and then they were like, "Oh, we have more consistent players. We can just beat them. Us as a group can beat Jaylen Brown by himself." I think was the thought, and then this was also the problem was the Pistons were leaving guys open for the on the Celtics side. They were leaving them open. They were leaving guys like Jordan Walsh, guys like Josh Minot, guys like Baylor Shireman, who I did not know even played basketball. Um, got real minutes till this game. Um, they just left them open. The Pistons just left these guys on the Celtics open, and and then these guys on the Celtics hit like one or two shots, and then the Pistons were like, okay, we got to get out there. But by the time they decided, oh, we need to go actually start defending them, they were on fire. Baylor Shireman, 13 points. Josh Minot, 9. Jordan Walsh, 7. And then you have the usual suspects for the Celtics. Derek White, 27, who was heating up in the second half. Peyton Pritchard, 16 points. Sam Hauser, only 5. And Anthony Simons, only 5. But by the time the Pistons started getting out there and defending some of these guys, it was too late. It was way too late. and the Pistons just simply didn't have the bodies to do it. They ran some interesting defensive stuff in the literally just in the first quarter, and then it all started breaking down. Um, and it sort of just became a slugfest. And I hit a couple shots, you hit a couple shots. I hit a couple shots, you hit a couple shots. Um, the physicality was definitely on the Pistons side. That's a positive you can take away from this game. Jalen Duren was very physical as usual. Cade Cunningham, 42 points, very physical. Hit some really good shots back to the basket, face up, two, 1-2 dribble pull up, um, in transition. And for this Detroit Pistons team overall, you got 12 points from Tobias Harris, 11 from Duncan Robinson, 12 from Duren, along with 16 rebounds. Cade Cunningham, 42, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Asor Thompson, 8 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Cade also had 1 steal and 1 block. Um, Isaiah Hartenstein, 6, Karis LeVert, 10, Jaden Ivey, 7. Um, but it simply the game just broke down for them, and I feel like the Pistons had their heads spinning at some point because they were like, okay, well Jalen Brown's hot. Okay, now Derek White's hot. Oh, now Baylor Shimon's hit like hits like four threes, um, three threes in like a half in a quarter, and you're like, oh my god, okay, we gotta get on him now. And they just sort of had their heads spinning, and they just never really got control of the game back. And this is sort of the controlled chaos, I think, that these teams like the Celtics, who are championship level teams, but are gonna miss this year. They're not a championship level team right now. The culture is championship level, but the team itself right now isn't. Um, they simply just okay. This is how crazy we can make the game, and we're gonna thrive off of this. And they're not used to this, and that's how we're gonna win this game. Um, Something else just to note, I want to shout out. The Pistons did snap their 13-game winning streak. They're 7-2 in away games. They're 15-3 overall right now. We'll get to their NBA Cup uh, wins and losses in a minute. They lost this game 114 to the Boston Celtics, 117, and I just want to throughout this 13-game stretch. I know this one was a loss, but before this one, I want to give a shout out to Jalen Duren of the Pistons, their starting center. Man, he didn't look great this game, but in the last couple games, in the last like we'll say 10, right? Because maybe there's a couple duds in there with the 13 wins. Last 10 games, he's looked really good. He looked like an all-star level center throughout this stretch. Um, he looked really good in the first half of this game. Um, 16 boards speaks for itself. That I'd say about 5 or 6 of those were ones that he wanted. The other 10 are like, okay, these are just business as usual rebounds. But the other 6, those are like, okay, I need to get this board. I'm going up there and getting this board. I'm probably the most physical and the 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 most seasoned center in this game. I mean, what you got Luka Garza on the Celtics. You got um, yeah, that's it. Yeah, really, yeah. I'm probably the most seasoned big. These are my rebounds. So I just want to shout out Jalen Duren there for the Pistons. I heard a crazy comparison the other day that Jalen Duren looks like a more polished Dwight Howard. I'm not ready to go that far yet, but I see what people are saying. I see it, and I'm like, okay, maybe. Um, but yeah, to end this game, the end of this game was crazy because it as the final score says, 114, 117. It came down to free throws and it came down to big shots. Um, um, Tobias Harris had some big shots, had a big shot for the Pistons. Um, the Boston Celtics had some good defensive stops. They did have a defensive lapse. They fouled Cade Cunningham on a 3-point like half court attempt right at the end of the game. The refs gave it to him, gave it to Cade. He went to the free throw line, made 2 of them, missed 1 of them, and that one free throw really decided this game because um, the game was just that much out of reach, just like 1 or 2 points out of reach, because Cade missed 1 free throw, because the Boston Celtics were um, better at the free throw line at the end of the game, and there was some terrible out of bounds plays for the Pistons in this game, and I think that's just that's sort of the connective tissue not being there. offensively for the Pistons, and defensively, the Boston Celtics defensive philosophy is always going to be there no matter who you throw out there. If you just need to stop an inbounds play from the other team, the Boston Celtics can probably deal with any combination of guys, especially when you have Derek White, Jalen Brown at the helm. They might not be great offensively most nights, but defensively, um, the Celtics team is still pretty good. You give them like 30 seconds, 40 seconds to get a stop, in crunch time, they can do it. So again, Pistons lost this game 114 to the Celtics 117. And the Pistons, let's see here, Pistons in Group B for the NBA Cup are 2-1 on the season. They are second in the NBA Cup Group B. So yeah, let's move on to this Wolves Oklahoma City Thunder game. This is a rematch from the playoffs last year. Oklahoma City Thunder won this game 113 to the Minnesota Timberwolves 105. Um, I'm not going to talk about this game too much, but this was simply a disaster class for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Just bad. Just a bad game. A bad game from Anthony Edwards. Ended up with a respectable stat line, but the percentages are bad. The shots he took were bad, even though they did start going in the fourth, and he sort of willed this team back into the game in the fourth. It was just an ugly. If you watched every other quarter besides the fourth quarter of Anthony Edwards in this game, you would say, "Oh my God, this is probably Ant's worst game of his professional career." And then, of course, in the fourth, he heated up. He ended the game with 31 in total, um, 8 rebounds, 5 assists to go with that. Um, the name of the game, this game, was just the Timberwolves just couldn't make free throws. What are their free throw percentages here? Free throw, they shot 59% from three, 22 of 37. So they made 22 shots, took 37 free throws. Um, yeah, you're gonna lose that game. That's not great. It looks better at the end. Watching the game, every time the Thunder fouled somebody, it it, it was just like, okay, just make one at this point, because everybody was missing free throws. Everybody was. Um, Julius Randle, um, Rudy Gobert, of course, because Rudy Gobert can't shoot any shot. Jonathan DiVincenzo, and actually ended the game with 12 free throw attempts, which was crazy. Didn't even feel like he had 12 free throw attempts in the game. Um, and in this game, this was a rematch of the playoffs last year. These teams did see each other in the playoffs. And at times, the Timberwolves did look really good against this Thunder team. But this night in November, I've said it like in my last couple videos about the NBA, is that there are levels to this, right? And some nights, some teams just look and feel like they're in a different level than every other team, especially the team they're playing that night, um, in their conference. The Thunder just felt impenetrable throughout this game. It was close. It was a close game. Don't get it twisted. Even though the Timberwolves sucked, they were really bad this game. The game was close. It was really close at some. It was like 1 2 point game, but I never felt like the Timberwolves were a threat to Oklahoma, because Oklahoma could just okay. The what I was witnessing was they would go back and forth, and then OKC build like a 5 6 point lead, and then they would let up a little bit. Okay, okay, the Timberwolves aren't going to come back now, and then the Timberwolves would come back a little bit, and they would go back and forth a little bit, but never felt like the Timberwolves were in control of this game, and it felt like, and it looked like what it felt and what it looked like were completely different. It felt like the Timberwolves were just the worst team in the league. Like they looked really bad, but watching it, the Timberwolves were close. They were close. But I again, I just never felt like the Timberwolves had any control of this game in any facet of the game. I mean, we can go look at the numbers here. Um, let's see. As a team, yeah, Oklahoma shot. Let's see. I'm trying to get it lined up here. There we go. Okay. Oklahoma shot. What was this? Was this 7% better from field goal overall. Oklahoma sucked at making threes, but that's not their game. They shot 27% as a team. Oklahoma did from three, and then free throws. The Oklahoma City only took one more free throw as a team than the Timberwolves as a team, and they shot 79% versus the Timberwolves 59%, so 20% better. Yeah, you lose that game. You lose that game, and you might look at this and be like, oh, the Timberwolves shot a better three-point percentage. That's just because they took more. They took 10 more than Oklahoma, and Oklahoma City isn't really known for their three-point shooting. Um, they're known for their like aggressive downhill, um, or in the open court, just snapping the ball, snapping it, snapping it, snapping it, snapping it, snapping it, and then it's just a lob. It ends up in a lob to Chet Holmgren or um, Isaiah Hartenstein or any of those guys, or even like who is it here? Isaiah Joe, AJ Mitchell, Jalen Williams. Like it just ends up like that. Um, this game just felt like a team that knew how to exploit the other team, and the other team was still trying to figure it out. Even though these guys saw each other last year in the playoffs, and the Timberwolves should have a better understanding of this Oklahoma City Thunder team, they did defensively, offensively. Oklahoma was just tearing the Timberwolves apart, and it was so obvious that like the Timberwolves were just so flat. And the other thing that came up again was the Timberwolves have no other ball handler. They really don't. It's Anthony Edwards or bust. And Thunder knew that. They knew Mike Conley wasn't going to play more than 20 minutes. Mike Conley, 30 something years old, on the backside of 35, I believe. 13 minutes. That's it. Rob Dillingham isn't ready. 12 points. You had an appearance of Terrence Shannon. You had an appearance of Jalen Clark a little bit. But you really couldn't give the ball to anybody else and trust them. And they sort of suffered for that. And don't get me wrong, like Anthony Edwards worked through the tough, basically 3 quarters that he had to get to the fourth quarter and actually show up a little bit. But it, you could tell it was just so tiring for him to bring up the ball every time, for him to just try to get some paint penetration, going, and it just weared on him. It kept wearing and grinding and what's the other word? Just grinding against him, and it just ended up like he played 40 minutes, 34 points, 9 of 19 overall from field goal, um, 5 of 10 from three, 8 of 12 from free throw. Others on the team: Julius Randle 10, Jaden McDaniels 10, Rudy Gobert 5, 12 rebounds. Rudy Gobert just makes me so frustrated. Um, and then 11 for Dante DiVincenzo. All right, let's move on to the Oklahoma City Thunder's numbers from Wednesday night's games. Isaiah Hartenstein 15, Chet Holmgren 12, Losing Dort 5, Kason Wallace 9, Shai Alexander 40, Jalen Williams 9, um, Alex Caruso 5, and AJ Mitchell 13. AJ Mitchell was big in that fourth quarter. Um, the other thing is that they didn't really have anybody to stop Shea. They threw everybody at him, and nobody really had an answer. And then when you went to the bench to try to find somebody to stop Shea, you really couldn't find it there either. And yeah, we've talked about a majority of the game. Something else I want to bring up that broke yesterday. So a day after this game took place on Thursday, we found out from ESPN's Shams Charania that Jalen Williams is off the injury report and will make his season debut tonight. That's Friday against the Phoenix Suns. So so Jalen Jalen Williams will be back for his season debut about, would you say, like a month after the season starts? So not too bad for Oklahoma. Let's move on to Rockets Warriors. All right, quickly talking about this Warriors Rockets game. The Rockets won this game 104 to the Warriors. Flat 100. This was a really competitive game up until about like end of the third, beginning of the fourth, and it felt like the Rockets had finally figured out the Warriors. The Rockets were without Kevin Durant, Tari Eason, Steven Adams. They were running on fumes. Some numbers for the Rockets: 15 points for Jabari, 16 for Alperen Şengün, 10 for Ahmed Thompson. Big game for Reed Shepherd, 31. I'm a Reed Shepherd denier, and I couldn't deny the fact that he looked really good last night. And then moving to the Warriors, Jimmy Butler 21, Draymond Green 12, Steph Curry 14. Not the best night. Reed Richard, my favorite player on the Warriors. Kidding. Um, 18 points. Really good hustle stuff. Really good smart baskets. Just taking the open shots or taking the shots that he was given and making them. Quentin Post 12 and 14 for Brandon Podziemski. Let's see here. This game was really fun. It was a really fun game to watch. Um, the contrasting styles of basketball, the different sort of defense. The Warriors obviously being the much older team, the Rockets being the more athletic, um, lengthier team. Um, the defense was interesting. Warriors ran a lot of zone. Um, the Rockets were out there in the passing lanes. They were out there, um, sort of trapping at times. Obviously, trapping Steph Curry, um, trying to get a lot of um, rebounds and trying to outwork this Warriors team. The biggest thing was um, the Warriors really didn't have a lot of depth this game. Offensively, it was sort of flat. Draymond Green tried to make some stuff in transition. Jimmy Butler did his thing. Um, again, Will Richard, 18 points, awesome, really good passes. The ball just finding him. Quinn Post finding his rhythm a little bit, 12 points, 5 rebounds. And what really decided this game, because throughout the first half, the Warriors looked like they were going to run away with this game. But in the second half, the Rockets sort of, I want to say figured out the Warriors, but it felt like they stole a lot of the momentum. There was a lot of interesting defensive decisions by the Warriors, running some zone against a more athletic Rockets team, trying to find some type of solution to stop the Rockets' offense, and they really just couldn't stop it at some point. And then at the end of the game, I guess like third or fourth quarter, Steph Curry went down with an injury. It came out afterwards that it was a thigh contusion, so he's gonna miss a week. The Warriors didn't give up though, um, but it was just sort of too little, too late, maybe I guess for the Warriors, and they lost the game. So Rockets 104, Warriors 100. Um, yeah, that's it. Um, that's it for this week's games. That's it for Wednesday night games. And I will see you all next time. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And I will see you all next time. Cheers.